If you're interested in the renewable energy space or in the innovations around that sector, you're going to want to listen to today's episode. We sit down today with a couple of industry experts in the area of lithium and renewable energy, as well as the new lead of our Lithium Innovation Cluster in South Arkansas. Don't miss it. Tune in.
This is the Startup Junkies podcast.
All right, welcome to the Startup Junkies podcast. Thanks for tuning in from wherever and however you're tuning in with us today. My name is Talley. I'm a member of the Startup Junkie team, joined by my co-host, Jeff Amerine. How's it going, Jeff?
Glad to be here.
Same. And our newest Startup Junkie, Florence Meaders. How's it going?
Going good.
Well, welcome. And we are excited to have you here in Northwest Arkansas today. We're also excited to be joined by our new friends. We've got Matt from New Era Advisors and Aviram from Brightmerge. And gentlemen, I'll let you tell our audience what you do at both companies.
Well, fantastic. Great to be here. Thanks for having us. Matt Newman, I'm the principal managing partner of New Era Advisors. It's an independent advising firm. I've got 35 plus years in the energy business, very diversified background in energy. I serve as a senior advisor to the head of research for one of our major universities in Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma. I've served as advisor for our secretaries of energy and environment for Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. I'm an advisor for a lithium supply chain manufacturer, Western Cam, and I'm an advisor for one of the largest renewable energy companies here in the United States. So it's a pleasure to be here.
My name is Aviram. I'm the CEO of a company called Brightmerge, a startup. I'm an electrical engineer by profession. I have more than almost 32 years of experience in this field. In 3 different industries. I spent 7 years serving in the Israeli Air Force as avionics system designer and ending up being the head of the avionics department in the Israeli Air Force. Then spent 19 years working in the semiconductor business, working for 3 companies, M Systems, SanDisk, and Western Digital in memory design, NAND flash memory design products. And 5 years in Brightmerge, 2 of them as the CEO.
And so tell us a little bit, I'm interested, and I think our listeners would be interested in just kind of the Smackover Formation and what that means to the industry, to the economy potentially, and kind of how important that actually is, that discovery and that confirmation of that really is. Because, I don't know that some people might realize just how impactful that could potentially be.
It's huge because just looking at the numbers, the Smackover Formation itself has the ability to create like 10 times more lithium than the entire country is right now. It could make us, as a country, completely independent in our lithium supply. So that's just huge. And for that area of the country, for my people watching from South Arkansas, it is a poorer area of the country. We don't have as many job opportunities and things like that. So adding that in is just massive. For that local economy and for the country as a whole.
A little more context there, and the difference between people think of lithium, they might know what the atomic number is, but
right.
There's lots of different ways it can be extracted. The thing that's really unique about the Smackover Formation is the lithium is suspended essentially in brine. So you can think of brine as being like an inland sea. And for 60 years, Albemarle and others have been extracting bromine and then putting the brine back in. What they figured out, companies like Standard Lithium and Exxon and others that are looking at this, is that they can extract the lithium through running it through a column and what they call DLE, direct lithium extraction, in a way that has almost no environmental impact. And then the brine goes back in. Unlike if you've got a strip mine in Australia, you're tearing up all kinds of ground. There's all kinds of issues associated with that. Or if you've got a giant settlement pool like you have in South America, if it rains, you're out of business for a year. So it's sustainable, it's reliable, it's resilient, and it's a real, I think, differentiator for Arkansas.
I know when they first announced it in the area and everybody was really excited and kind of really scared at the same time. So Exxon in particular came in and gave us a demonstration of what that actual mining would look like and how, first of all, the plants and stuff aren't going to be right in the middle of town because plants aren't. And then when they take it out, you're really not even going to be able to tell what they're doing unless you're at that site. And a lot of the ventures that we're working with are people that are in that extraction and waste and recycling and making sure that it has like the least negative environmental impact possible. So, I mean, they've figured out a great way to do it compared to how it's been done in the past.
Let's transition over to the guys at Brightmerge. So you guys identified a pretty significant problem in as people are looking at the potential energy mix or fleet mix. They had some difficulties in being able to get their head around, is it the right time to do EV, et cetera? And I'm not giving that nearly enough justice. But lay out the problem that you guys at Brightmerge solve and why it was an important problem to solve.
Exactly. Okay, so the problem that we were introduced to solve at the end of 2021 was, we call it the EV problem. Let's say that you are a fleet owner, okay, and you have a big fleet, let's say 500 to 1,000 vehicles, and you want to charge your fleet, right? And most people that we talk to as fleet owners, they don't know the basic answers for the questions. For example, how do I charge my fleet? Meaning I have 1,000 vehicles. When should I let them come in to be charged? That's one question. The other question is, what type of equipment, charging equipment I should buy? And what should satisfy the needs and what will make financial sense? How to connect to the grid? Whether the utility that I'm using can provide, and the specific transformer can supply the demand that I have with my fleet. And what is the overall TCO, the total cost of ownership? I don't know. So this is the problem that we were facing, and with our platform, we managed to provide the answers. The way we did it starts actually way back in 2019. We started our way and I'll speak a bit about it. We started our way in solving a problem for microgrids. We found out that there is the same problem for a C-level at big energy companies that want to establish a microgrid, and they don't know what would make sense technically and financially. So that's what we did. We developed a decision support tool that is targeted for the C-level of those companies. That tells them, okay, if you go to a specific site, this is the type of microgrid that you should implement, and this is the financials behind it. We have taken this technology in 2021, and we solved the problem, what we call the EV problem. What value we bring with this platform? We actually tell the customer, which is the fleet owner, look, this is your schedule for each and every plate number. When it should come to be charged, with what charger, for how long, what power. We tell you what is the recommended equipment to buy, meaning what type of charger, maybe sometimes it's a mix, DC chargers, AC chargers, this type of power, other type. We tell you also how to connect to the grid, whether the transformer is good enough to support your fleet or not, and if not, what to do with it, meaning to go to the utility with a specific requirement. We tell you how to do it. And also what type of additional energy asset to add to it, meaning it can be a battery, it can be a solar system, it can be wind turbine in specific locations, it can be gas turbine, and so on and so forth. Our platform is agnostic to the type of energy asset. We have a very significant list of energy assets, a digital model of them, and we can provide the right solution for the specific requirement.
So if a group is trying to justify the value justification, the payoff, and total cost of ownership, you give them something that is essentially verifiable, defensible, third-party point of view with good data that says, based on the weather and the geography and the wind field and how much the sun shines and maybe the availability of natural gas or other things, this is the picture. So it's not like you've got an agenda that says it's got to be one or the other. Completely objective point of view.
Completely objective. We are not connected to any supplier of any type of equipment. The information we give is completely equipment agnostic and provider agnostic. Yet, if we have a customer that wants to use a specific vendor, we will not stop him. All he has to do is to tell, okay, I want to use this vendor. We take the specification of the specific vendor, specific equipment, we add it as a digital model to our platform, and now it's being used. Okay?
Great stuff.
So let me add to that. So, starting with the microgrid. So There are many places in the United States. Aviram started this microgrid study in Israel, which is a very isolated grid. And if you're going to add users or demand to that grid, you need to start with the conversation about microgrids, putting in batteries, putting in fuel cells, putting in generators, as you mentioned, solar, wind. Very, very complex algorithm. And Aviram's very modest. Let me kind of interject here for a second. You take that algorithm, and then the algorithm to look at the logistics of a last mile delivery. What does that duty cycle look like? How are those vehicles really running? And many of these vehicles run 70 miles a day, 80 miles a day. A downtown delivery or a restaurant delivery. So taking that other algorithm to look at the duty cycle and how do you optimize charging with off-peak? Do you drop a battery in and make yourself a little microgrid in your depot? And I will add that the algorithm writer is a hero of mine, Dr. Amir Ban. And Dr. Amir Ban in Israel, in Tel Aviv, invented the USB thumb drive and invented the algorithm and the logic to make memory work and make a smartphone possible. So Aviram was very involved in both of those markets and commercializing those markets. So taking those technologies, the algorithms that they've written, and they play well together, and they can run iterations very, very quickly. So you can change a variable and hit run, and in minutes you have a TCO.
Not only the TCO, the design.
Everything. Yep.
Okay. So the whole design of the whole EV infrastructure, EV charging infrastructure, including its electrification. Okay. Now, I just want to thank you, Matt. So what I would like to add is also, of course, solving the problem was not an easy task to do.
Right.
Although we had the technology back in end of 2021, adding those two layers, that we had to add to our software took us a year and a half, but we did it, and we commercialized it at the beginning of 2024, mainly in the US, and we are actually selling it, the design portion of it and the TCO, for a year already. I just want to add about the value, because it's important. So it's not only to solve the problem, but it's also how to solve the problem. We do it very fast. The nice thing about the algorithm that Dr. Amir Ban, as mentioned by Matt, developed with his team, that it's very fast. We made sure that every run takes no more than 5 minutes. Okay, compared to competitive solutions in the market that can take hours. And that's a big difference, because this allows you to run as many iterations as you like, and not only to get the optimal solution, but to get a map of solutions. So, because sometimes you prefer not to take the optimum, but to go to the right, to the left, in order to fit it to your own needs.
And you built machine learning into some of that so that it's constantly improving and adapting as well.
Especially for the operation software, correct. So that's one value that we bring. The other one is we managed to save both on the capital cost and the operational cost between 10 to 30%.
Wow.
Which is quite significant. And the last thing is the comprehensive financial report that we provide with our product, which means that you can take the report and go to your, it can be a funding organization or the bank and ask for the funds. Okay, so that's something unique about our solution. Now, the product that we developed are actually three. I was talking about the design, but we also provide a TCO model, a total cost of ownership model, that comes from this design software. The nice thing about the TCO is that as a fleet owner, before you make the decision that you want to make the transition to EV, you can take our platform, plug in the data about what is your current fleet, the ICE fleet, the internal combustion engine fleet, and you can take, let's say 5 different EV models and ask our platform, okay, I want to see the total cost of ownership for this and compare it to the 5 type of brands of EV. We'll do it for you, and you will get a comparison table that will show you the difference. And we look at total cost of ownership for 15 years, 20 years, depends on how long it will last. And that's very powerful. The third piece of our offering is the operation software. What we did, we have taken our technology for the design, which is a very advanced algorithm, and we implemented it on the day-to-day operation of the EV charging hub. The way we have done it, our algorithm resides between the energy assets and the consumers, in the case of EV, the chargers. Now, what we are very good at to do is our algorithm is able to learn. That's where the machine learning and the AI comes, able to learn the behavior of the energy assets, all of them, over 1 day of operation. Same for the consumers. And based on that and the local tariff and the weather, it predicts and optimizes the next day of operation. Then communicates it to the low-level software called the CMS, the Charging Management System. And this operates it the next day. And we monitor it to make sure that the execution is correct. Okay, only by that we can save in the energy cost, the electricity energy cost, between 10 to 30%.
Are you an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur looking to get plugged into the ecosystem? We host a ton of events designed for education, inspiration, and collaboration, from weekly meetups to quarterly events like pitch competitions and annual events like our marquee event, the Startup Crawl, which is the largest startup party in Arkansas. Check out our event page on our website, sign up, and we'll see you there.
I'm gonna back up a little bit and ask kind of a macro level question to Matt, because I know you've been a long time energy guy with Duke Energy. Look at this stuff from kind of a macro and geopolitical point of view. What's it look like the next 3 to 5 years from your point of view? How do you see the mix between EV, various different sources of generation? How's it going to sort out in the U.S. and elsewhere based on what you see?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my viewpoint on all of this is just more of everything. More of everything.
Yeah.
I am generation agnostic. What makes the most sense for the region? What's most sustainable? And that's not necessarily just focusing on environmental. I mean, it's people, profit, planet. It's all of them.
Right.
And balancing people, profit, planet. And with plays like the Smackover, I think we have a great opportunity to bring supply chain here. So we've got Stardust Power. We've got players coming into the Smackover. As I mentioned, earlier today, we have this company interested in founding a big supply chain player called Western Cam here in our area to be a lithium off-taker, part of that supply chain. So whether it's EV fleet, keep in mind that their algorithm looks at the microgrid as well. So that's stationary batteries.
Sure.
In Oklahoma, we have almost 50% of our electricity is renewable. And it's complex. It's very, very difficult to run a grid. And many, many times we have to turn off our wind turbines because there's no demand. So is this an opportunity to put stationary batteries in? The Smackover and LRIC is a big player in this. We work very diligently in the hydrogen space. That's new. But again, it's more of everything. Making hydrogen with excess supply of renewable energy. Does it make sense? Well, we're going to learn. We will definitely learn through this. I mean, if you roll back the clock to the 1970s, solar panels were ungodly expensive. $100,000 a kilowatt. And now it's one of the cheapest forms of electricity. It took us a while. With algorithms like Brightmerge's and others that are out there, kind of the AI world, can we accelerate the knowledge that we have? Instead of taking 50 years to reduce the cost of solar, can we implement and use lithium in a smarter way? Can we advance it for stationary and EV? Are there other things we can do to bring it together? And their algorithms could take in hydrogen as a 18-wheeler fuel source and run the algorithm with that.
Sure.
So I think that it's an exciting 5 or 10 years ahead of us.
Yeah, let me add to this. I had a meeting that, thank you, this reminded me of something. I had a meeting on Thursday and Friday in New York with bus operating companies that are now converting their buses from diesel into EV. And one of the things that they asked me is, okay, we want to be pioneers. We want to do something really exciting. We have very big batteries, okay? And we want, some of the time they're idle. Because let's say, let's take, for example, a bus company that, it takes the kids to to the school and back. Right. So there is part of the day that they sit idle. Okay, so what do we do with that? We have a very big battery sitting idle. So you can use V2G, okay? And they asked me, V2G is vehicle to grid.
Sure.
And they asked me, can your software handle it? The answer is definitely yes.
So it'll be a net metering deal back at
exactly.
It becomes part of the microgrid.
But the nice thing is that you don't need to do too much. All you have to do, as a user, tell our software, yes, I have V2G, please run it, okay? We'll run it for you and we'll take it into account in the simulation optimization of the whole site. And when you're talking about hundreds of buses, that becomes very significant.
Sure.
Yeah, and a powerful partner of Brightmerge is a company called Volo Fleet, that is part of this, because it's very complex to take a diesel-fueled school bus and take all of those parts out and convert it to an EV bus. And Volo X has that capability.
They figured out how to do it to where it's actually can be cheaper than buying the bus new.
It is much cheaper to transition to an EV, which is very impressive. And then once you've I'm sure heard, I've driven a plug-in hybrid for over 10 years. Your maintenance is lower. There's a bit, plug-in hybrid's a little cheat, but a pure EV, there's a lot less moving parts. And reliability and dependability is very high, and not all part of what their algorithm does, the Brightmerge algorithm does. You look at your fleet, and we're not going to instead of saying range anxiety, duty cycle. It's a duty cycle. What does this bus do? What does it really do? Take out the idling, and you stop burning diesel. What's its duty cycle that day? Or a postal delivery vehicle, what's its duty cycle? And the algorithm will take that vehicle, the duty cycle that it anticipates to have the next day. How do you charge it? What's the weather the next day? Is the air conditioner going to run? Is the heater going to run? And you take all of that into account and you demystify the duty cycle.
Exactly.
I'll go back to something, a comment you made earlier in regards to just how over the last 50 years, the advancements we've made in regards to, say, solar energy and how that's brought that cost down. I know in Arkansas specifically, we've got some legislative changes to the net metering process, and so energy storage is going to be paramount. So in terms, kind of looking at how solar energy in particular has advanced over the last few years and become more cost effective, where are we in terms, in y'all's opinion, in regard to energy storage and the development of energy storage and making it more cost efficient in line with these, impactful energy sources, and how might that kind of play into what we're doing in South Arkansas?
Let me kick it off, and then I'll turn it over to you, Aviram. So we're all familiar with first of all, the grid. Yeah, everything east of the Rockies is, excluding Texas, ERCOT is its own little island, is one contiguous giant engine. It's super complex. So we're all familiar with how utilities have had demand response. They'll turn your air conditioner off and pay you to allow them to turn your air conditioner off. Very, very comfortable with demand response. It took a while. There were not a lot of people that wanted the utility to have control of something, but business has accepted that. So if you look at the lithium battery standby power or arbitrage, charging at night and discharging it during the day when prices are higher, think of it as demand response.
Yeah.
You're taking, people don't realize that often at night, power is free. It gets so oversupplied that actually it'll go negative. People will pay you to take electricity. So it's in the utility's best interest to keep power flowing 24/7. So if you can levelize that supply and demand, it's much more efficient. And our system is good. It could always be more efficient.
And as you get more diverse sets of generation, that is going to be more and more important need, right?
Yes.
To be able to levelize.
Yes, because you need, the generation like nuclear that runs 24/7, like in Russellville. You need peakers that are usually natural gas. You got some diesel. Wind and solar do their thing. but we all know it works great when it's windy and sunny. So what are the other gap fillers? Pump hydro. You put the electricity uphill in the form of water, and then use hydro turbines to make electricity during the day. So the more tools we have in our toolbox, and the more tools we have to manage and optimize the tools in the toolbox, makes us much better, much smarter, and better global competitor.
I'm going to follow up on that pump hydro idea. Do you see, and I mean, there's obviously unit economics associated with any approach you would take for storage.
Yeah.
Does lithium-based battery storage get to the point where it's more cost-effective at scale than the pump hydro? Where's that crossover point?
Yeah, generally speaking, I think because I do a lot of environmental permitting, it's very difficult to permit water use. And if you think about what do you need for pump hydro? Well, if you have an existing hydro facility, you take a tube and you bring it to the top, but it's going to take you a bit, and it is expensive. Okay, batteries are pretty easy to accept.
Yeah,
you have a warehouse with some cooling and a connection to the grid, and you're off and running. And we have batteries in our phones we carry around every day. That's pretty similar technology, right? We're very comfortable putting a AA or AAA battery into a piece of equipment we use. It's technology that we have today, and I think over the years to come, we'll just get that much better as we move forward.
One more kind of, and for both of you, really sort of a potentially unfair macro level question. So we think about lithium. Lithium has obviously got a lot of momentum in the marketplace, but some people have said, well, it also has the downside of fire and explosive issues and all this other sort of stuff. So solid state or sodium based. What's your guys' take on how that sorts out? What is we're obviously have a vested interest because Florence is running the Lithium Regional Innovation Cluster. It's going to be all about electrification and energy innovation. But what do you see as the useful life of lithium versus other alternatives? How do those other pieces, those other battery technologies fit?
Yeah, and there are technologies. We see a lot of memes. We set a lot of things on fire.
Yeah.
There are technologies that don't do that.
Right.
So not everything is the meme.
Right.
And I think as the years go by, we'll get better and better at it. And when you're using a periodic table element, it doesn't go away. So we have companies that are moving into our space to take lithium batteries and recycle the lithium. It's just like aluminum cans. I think once you drop an aluminum can in for recycling, in about 60 days, it's going to be another aluminum can. Okay, so it's exciting. It's very exciting to see this progress.
So you see the recycle and reuse. You don't see, there's not a crossover point where somebody says, this technology that uses sodium or this technology that has some other kind of exotic combination of elements is going to be better than lithium. You see lithium as being the workhorse?
It's the workhorse today.
It'll
be the workhorse for tomorrow. It makes sense. We'll see advancements. Will somebody come out with, a crystal turbinator, or we talk a lot about fusion. There's a lot of technologies to come, but again, broaden your portfolio.
Yeah.
We still use aluminum cans.
Yeah.
We still use dry cell alkali, right? And we do have a company that is founded in Northeast Oklahoma in Bartlesville called Blue Whale. That's in the lithium battery recycling space.
Yeah.
It's already coming. So we're seeing this, end-to-end circular economy happening today in lithium.
Yeah, let me
Please.
add to it that at the end of the day, it's economic, right? And if you look at the last 20 years, many companies, lithium-based batteries companies have managed to, one is to reduce the size of it significantly, and of course increase the capacity of the battery, actually the density of it, and on the other hand increase let's call the security of it, meaning not to get into fire in certain conditions, and most importantly reduce the price per kilowatt hour. Okay, and by doing so you actually ensure that this will keep going as your horse, let's call it this way. In the storage world, and it will keep going. If you look at what's going on in the market, it will keep going. I see for the next 10 to 20 years. And remember, any new technology that's coming in has to go through the infinity stage, and then to be proven in the market and to be accepted in the market and to be economically viable takes time.
For sure.
And
For sure.
there's room in the United States for all of this.
Absolutely.
So as we have heard, these new AI demands are going to increase our need for electricity substantially. So there's plenty of room for natural gas. There's plenty of room for nuclear and hydro and wind and solar. There's plenty of room.
And you almost have to. Right?
Yeah, it's all.
You have to.
And the winter storm we had a few years ago, Winter Storm Uri, taught us a lesson. You need to have a portfolio of stuff just in case.
Florence, I got a question for you.
Okay.
So obviously we've learned a lot about Brightmerge, and it's awesome that they're part of the LRIC. What's the call to action for other companies that might be like Brightmerge that are looking for a place where they can come for connections or resource? Talk a little bit about what's the call to action for anybody else that might be listening that's in and around this space.
So for anyone in this space, we get ventures, and then Matt is with us too as an SME. So that's a subject matter expert. And if you don't know what that is, that's going to be people that have a lot of experience either directly in the lithium space, maybe just industry in general, anything that can be valuable to these ventures and small businesses as they move forward. If you're somebody that fits either of those categories, I would honestly say the best thing to do is either to reach out to us directly. We have social medias, we have a website where you can reach out and let us know you're interested. And we're always out there looking and recruiting and trying to find people that are good fits for this space. So just reaching out and letting us know that you'd want to be a part of
It
it.
doesn't cost anything.
No, it's
Federally funded.
Yes, cost. There's no cost at all. There's no minimum time requirement, nothing like that. You put in as much time as you want. You can use any of the services completely for free. We're going to have events like this and other kinds moving forward at least twice a month, trainings, networkings, all those kind of things. So
There's an intentionality about the creative collisions that you're going to create through the programming, right? To connect customers and subject matter experts
Yes.
and new enterprises, new ventures.
absolutely. I mean, and there's even going to be, the capital component. Companies in the lithium space, a lot of them are up and coming. They need funding. So we're going to try to help find, different sources of capital, whether it's grants or venture capital or things like that. So just making the connections that are the most helpful for those companies.
Should we do the land the plane question?
I think we should do the land the plane. Land
All
it
right.
for us.
So how we typically end our podcast, we invite our guests to go back in time to give their younger self advice with all the accumulated knowledge that they've since accumulated. And so I'll invite y'all to what advice would you give your younger self?
Well, entrepreneurs.
Yourself.
Well, yeah.
Myself?
Yeah, if you could go
so
back in time.
I'll start. I'll start,
Got
and I'll
you,
let
got
you
you.
think for a second, because I've used this with Aviram often as he's asked me to help him, establish their company here in the United States, which we've done. Their headquarters, U.S. headquarters, are in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Which is awesome. Thank you for coming to the
Yeah, it's
Heartland.
fantastic.
That's awesome.
So when asked to help or asked to be engaged, my answer is always yes, however. Right? Yes, however. So if you have, working for a big corporation, you might not be able to say yes, however, but really the answer is always yes. And manage your calendar, manage your time, and prioritize. Family always first. But as an empty nester, now I can tell you I have some bandwidth. So yes, however works much better than it did over the last 20 years.
That's great.
So yes, however.
Awesome advice.
Yeah. So first of all, my advice to myself is get a good friend like Matt.
Right, right. Yep.
Yeah. But I think that the main message is when you start something new and you take on yourself such a big mission, dare. Okay. If you dream, then dare. Don't be afraid, because there will be so many obstacles over
Sure.
your journey. and you will fall and you will rise up. Continue.
Yeah.
Continue with your mission.
Yeah.
Don't simply dare. Okay?
Yeah, that's great.
that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And one more thing, always find, a startup company always have to remember that you're a startup, you have very limited resources. You need to get a good partner along the way that believes in you, okay, that can help you, and there is a good synergy with your partner.
Yeah.
And this will help you to, and this is, by the way, the reason that I signed a cooperation agreement with FollowX. This is our partner that helps us to, to go up.
That's great.
Yeah, you've got some great partners. Drive Tel Aviv.
Yeah, Drive Tel Aviv at the beginning, of course, and Meyer Cars and Trucks is our big investor, and now Uptime that is helping us on the commercialization of projects. So that's my lesson.
So recap, figure out how to say yes. Yes, however.
There.
The importance of partners, and don't give up. Dare.
Exactly.
And
Keep going.
Enjoy the journey.
I love it, and enjoy the journey.
Yeah.
Florence, what about you? Since you're new on here, even though you're part of it, you could go back
Oh my goodness.
a bunch of years. What would your advice be?
Depends on how many years. I think I would just say, don't be afraid to take chances and get, out of your comfort zone. That's a big thing. For young professionals in general, and, going through college and first jobs, and just not being afraid to go somewhere that's a little scary sometimes.
And if there's a job offering for Startup Junkie Consulting, pay attention to it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, so final is to find out more about your companies. What's the best way for our audience to get in contact with you?
Well, first of all, get into the website and learn about Brightmerge. And secondly, we would love anyone that wants to learn more about us. We are arranging, introductions to Brightmerge. We do it for customers. We do it for people that just get interest. We are doing webinars.
Awesome.
So welcome.
Very good. Matt, how about you?
Well, Brightmerge. Start with Brightmerge.
All right.
But I'm on social media, and you can now go to LRIC.
That's right.
find me.
Because you're one of our subject matter experts.
Yep.
If people want to learn more about the LRIC, what should they do?
You can go to lithiumric.org, so Lithium RIC, to learn kind of the basics. We also have a LinkedIn and a Facebook page, and all of our contact info and everything is there, along with lots of posts about things going on in the industry, events coming up, and eventually our SMEs and ventures will start getting featured on there as well later in the year.
Awesome. You can also find that on Startup Junkies website as well.
Yes.
We're all one family. All one family. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share with a friend. Subscribe and review because it matters to us and we want to hear from you. If you're interested in learning how to work with us, check out the information below. See you next week.